Man, our vision is we want to go from being a noun to a verb, meaning that, Love Akron is not an organization, it's not a building, it's not that. It's a movement of people loving Akron in a very organized, specific, intentional way that's moving us all in the right direction.
Kemp Boyd,
Hey now,
and Benjamin Beaver, and we
love Akron.
This morning we got to do something really fun, kind of awkward,
Challenging, yeah.
challenging. What did we do this morning, and kind of set the stage for me?
The one thing we did this morning is we've been doing a series of meetings called Let's Get Acquainted, and this has been how it originally started off was these pastors coming to get acquainted with the new executive director of the Love Akron Network. But what have transpired is the challenge of let's get acquainted with one another.
And I opened up with, hey, Coach Kemp always says, let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
I love that statement because if we don't do that, we're never actually reaching and affecting each other's hearts.
Exactly.
So we opened up with, how do you love Akron? So we went all the way around. Everybody talked about it.
The one that blew me away was with the one that says, hey, man, I stayed. Like, I didn't leave. I stayed.
That
right?
resonated with me because I'm like, Akron's one of those places that either you stay or you go.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
the place
sir.
where you get your degree cheap, and then you go to the place that you wanted to go.
Exactly. And so when he said that, I thought in its simplicity, it was so profound, right? Because right now, when you look across Akron, everything is geared around how do we get people to stay? But then, and then it's a question, well, man, why did you stay, right? When you could have went anywhere. And I know for me, not being from here, I never thought I was going to stay. I never thought I was going to stay in Akron. I remember like it was yesterday. I was having a conversation on Nash Street over there by the University of Akron. It was in our fraternity house, Phi Beta Sigma, Go Mob, all that, Blue Phi. I remember sitting on the sidewalk having a conversation with my mother because I was getting ready to graduate. And she automatically had assumed that I was coming back home down south. It was done deal. Hey, when you need us up there to get your stuff, I hope you're packed and ready to go. And I remember standing on the sidewalk having to tell my mom and say, hey, I'm not moving back home. And she was hot. She was fiery. She was upset. My mom doesn't get upset. But I was her youngest child. But I said, Mom, listen, if I don't stay here, and at that time here was Akron, right? But I wasn't prefacing after. I meant if I don't stay here in this place, I said I'm never gonna grow up. I'm gonna allow you and Daddy to take care of me. So I'm gonna come move back into your home. I'm gonna chill, maybe look for a job, or I'm gonna spend a year coasting, saying And I said I'm never going to grow up and take ownership and responsibility of my life. So for me, Akron has become, not just a city that I live in, but almost the older brother that I needed. You know what I mean? To kind of help to mature me and to grow me, to serve as a mentor for me in all different aspects of my life that I didn't know I needed at the time. Because I was looking to run out of Akron. Like, I couldn't stand, I never really claimed Akron as home. You know what I mean? But I remember that conversation standing on Nash Street, man, years ago, because it was a fence post moment. I love it because
we actually discussed this morning. We're saying, what is Akron? And we'll get to how that was posed in just a second. The second part of our meeting this morning and getting together with just these great leaders was asking the really hard question, how have you failed? How have you failed in Akron?
If I'd have known you was going to ask that question, I wouldn't have asked you to come this morning. Because that was deep. Like that. And some of those responses, man, was like, sometimes you expect just to peel back the onion slowly.
We went,
but it was gone.
We went for the jugular.
Immediately.
But you know what came out of that room, man, was, at least in my perception of it, was people being honest about their weaknesses.
Yes.
And I remember the one guy was saying, he was saying, well, I failed this. I said, well, good thing God's a good dad.
Come on, man.
Let's let's
that was cool that you said that.
let's recognize it. I'm not trying to down on you, because we do that as naturally as leaders.
I would say, man, a couple of things that stuck out to me was, there was a couple of those leaders there who had said, man, I put so much into this that I neglected this, right? Whether it was my family or this, that, and the third. But even the one leader that had talked about how, man, at that time, I didn't lead with the courage or the boldness that I needed. And I shrank back instead of really lead into. And it was a great spirit of vulnerability and openness. And it's funny, man, because after I walked out, man, I'd heard from one of those leaders, man, and I didn't expect to hear this, who said, hey, man, he sent me a text that said, Kemp, thanks so much for the invite. And I wasn't expecting that from this person, right? But
especially after we went for the jugular, it was not
those range of emotions, man.
It wasn't a feel good.
Yeah. And what was confirming though is that when we were kind of done with the discussion, how long it took for people to leave, because fellowship and discussion was still happening. So it was almost like this mending of wounds to like your brethren, right? Of, hey, man, I appreciated that.
So walking away from that this morning, though, as the coach of Loving Akron, what do you take away that we can do together?
Man, I think one of my takeaways that we can do together is not only continue to get acquainted with one another, but be willing to dive deep with one another. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of times it's in our depth that moves us towards motion. But if we stay on the surface, then I don't want to linger in that. And I think it's innately as people, we don't want to stay in the shallow end. We front like we do and we act like it. But at the end of the day, there comes a time you're like, hey man, I need something more, and there's always that wooing or that unctioning to say, man, I want something more, man. Like, this ain't enough. I don't feel fulfilled, right? And I think that's a trend throughout our society. And I mean, people that are married see it all the time. Well, man, this is no longer fulfilling for me. Well, how do you know that? But then even with that, what my question would be, well, how much deeper have you gotten? First of all, within yourself, but then allowing that piece of intimacy to really happen, to where I'm saying, hey, Ben, I want to allow you into me so you can really see what's going on.
Well, it's that vulnerability, and we got to see that this morning where leaders, it spurred each other on, where they're like,
yes,
yeah, I did this out of fear.
Yeah.
And that another great leader in the area came up to me afterwards. He's like, you know what, man, I need some diversity in my life.
Yeah.
He was an African-American guy.
Yes, sir.
So he came up to the ginger white guy and was like, but that right there communicates huge stuff, man.
Huge,
That's what we're all about at Love Akron.
Yes.
It's not just gathering people together to gather people together.
That's right. No kumbayas here.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
I mean, we'll have fun.
We'll have a good time.
We'll have a good time, but at the end of the day, we want to love Akron.
Yes.
We want to be a verb, not a noun.
That's right.
We don't want to just have meetings to have meetings. You guys have plenty of meetings.
Yes. I'm a professional meeting goer. Like, this is my 4th meeting today, right?
Yep.
Which is good. You meet with all good people, but again, it goes back to, man, what do we want to activate? What do we want to help to activate as we do these things that pushes us towards motion and movement? And yes, let's go ahead and let's go take care of this. Let's find some solutions for X, Y, and Z. And yeah, we're going to pray about it initially, but let's allow our prayers to take motion that leads us into saying, hey, I need to go and contact this person over here, man, because they have this resource that I think is going to be a benefit for you. Like, that's the beautiful thing about this. Man, our vision is we want to go from being a noun to a verb, meaning that, Love Akron is not an organization, it's not a building, it's not that. It's a movement of people loving Akron in a very organized, specific, intentional way that's moving us all in the right direction. And I get this question, but man, what if your beliefs don't agree with my beliefs? And that's going to happen, right? I mean, But what I say to that is, my question back is, man, are you concerned about what I'm concerned about? Are you concerned about our city? Are you concerned about the things that are going on in our city that is hindering our city from flourishing? We already know what's hindering our city from flourishing, but man, what's going to help our city to flourish? And if you're with that and you want to do that, hey man, I don't care what we believe, right? Because when we start getting down into the weeds of stuff and, oh man, you don't look like me, or you didn't grow up here, listen man, whether you live in Akron or whether you work in Akron, you have a love for Akron. What we want to help to do is, let's take and activate that love into motion and doing something with it.
As always, you can go to loveakron.org, check stuff out. But again, this is Kemp, Boyd,
Hey now.
and Benjamin Beaver, and we
love Akron.